The Survivor Specialists, Phil and Will, are back with our Survivor 46 episode 6 predictions and power rankings. And today, here to join us for this mergatory mess, we have Sabiyah Broderick from season 45. Sabiyah, welcome to the podcast. So glad you're here.
Oh my gosh. Hey, everybody. What's going on? So great to be here.
This is going to be a fun one. We were talking about it before we went live. We planned this over a month ago to get Sabiyah on this date, and then Jem went home with an idol in her pocket. So it's like, Sabiyah, we're ready to break down. How does this keep happening? We've seen this. There's been such an uptick in recent seasons. What's going on?
See, it's the energy of the idol. Like, I don't know. It's like you get it for 2 seconds. You feel like this unbelievable release of like the panic, the anxiety, and you just feel safe for the first time that you've ever felt. And some people with that safety make great decisions, and some people play harder. And in my case, and in Jem's case, we kind of were already playing hard without us being like personally aware of how hard we were playing. People start picking up on, in Jem's situation, Tim, he knew immediately. And I was like, wow, Tim, his gut is crazy, because he was like, I know exactly who has this idol. Like, I'm not even gonna tweet around the bush. And how he tried to like kind of like coerce her into telling him about it. And she was way too defensive. Like, I feel like I had some similar memories dealing with the Lulu tribe. Like, I was keeping my cards to my chest, but at the same time, I wanted to know what everybody else had going on. And that's never a good seed. You have to give and take. And so Jem, she was taking a lot more than she was giving, I would say that. And so those are the parallels that I see between me and her. Sometimes it's good to know everything, but sometimes you have to let other people play their game. Otherwise, they're going to feel intimidated and you're going to go home.
And yeah. And your idol, though, is a little bit different than Jem's, because you had this like tantalizing incentive that if you don't vote,
oh my goodness,
then you get to extend the life of your idol, which is almost like you had honestly more of a reason, I think, to not play it. But not only you didn't vote, and I do wonder, and I'm sure you've been over this, do you think if you had voted for Caleb there and it's 2-2, what do you think happens with that tied vote?
Well, I think I can speak my piece, like I'm just kind of like, I mean, if I do vote, the actual incentive to vote was I would have to play my idol that tribal anyway. So
that's true. It was like if you had voted, then it was a one-time idol. That's right.
Right. And so after talking to Dr. Kat, shout out to Dr. Kat, a psychologist, she explained it as being the marshmallow experiment. Basically, they give you like, okay, the kids that it's like, okay, you can have one candy bar right now, but if you wait until I get back, you can have 2 candy bars. And so like children that were more developed in the experiment, they always would wait for the second candy bar. It's like a delayed gratification type of experiment. And those children usually were more successful, blah, 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 blah. She's trying to make me feel good about myself. So in the moment, I was like, yeah, like, I'm just like a really smart kid. But, once you get out.
Candy bars. You did
exactly.
The you didn't get greedy.
But it's not the smart thing in Survivor, right? Because it's like, it's smart if I had been doing the backdoor stuff with Emily, like how Caleb was. It's very smart. But because I was kind of late to that party, me thinking myself, how I would play, I want to be aligned with the idol. I was saying I don't want to go into a potential swap, a potential merge. I mean, we're already going down to 3. They had to swap us. Like me and Sean were actually talking about that earlier before we went to tribal. We're like, okay, like even though it's going down to 3, they probably gonna swap us tomorrow. And then it ended up happening to them, So yeah, like you're going in with your ally or whatever, who you think is your ally, but you have no cover and there's only 3 numbers. So when I'm doing my math, I'm like, okay, I have me, I have my idol, which is like a ghost person. And then I know I have Sean. Sean was my number 1 at the time. So I felt like Emily's chances of going with us was a lot higher, us being kind of like the underdogs and able to kind of like go under the radar than her going with Caleb and Sean, fracturing that relationship with Sean by getting me out and not now going in with 2 instead of having your solid 3. So I did think about it. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like a lot of the speculation was like I was just playing cocky and this and that. I'm like, no, like there's just no world that I thought that Emily does not go with me and Sean and takes the fragment with Caleb. So it was just a surprise.
And I want to ask, because
I'm done.
Jem pre-season said she would play her idol in any situation, or at least it was something along the lines of, I don't think people should wait. If you feel like there's any chance, just play it. Now you've been in that spot where you're saying, oh, I don't feel like it is. Can anybody actually go into the game with that mentality? Or do you really, it's just, you have to go by the feel of what the game is? What do you think? Like if you play again, are you saying idol is getting played as soon as I find it, or no?
No, not at all. Cause that's playing scared. Like, and people don't respect you playing an idol at a turn, you know? So and as far as like how hard it was to find my idol, it took days and it took a lot of people.
And then you had to melt the thing.
Right.
Too.
Like I didn't have I didn't have the privilege to be able to keep it to myself, I'll say, because I mean, even though I tried to in the beginning, like I tried to just make it like an alliance thing or a me and Brandon thing, it was just like the writing was on the wall and I didn't have a vote, and your vote is everything. So it just puts that pressure on you where it's just like, okay, like increase your odds of finding it or go home, you know? So ultimately, like her having an idol that nobody knew about, I feel like it was a lot less pressure. I mean, she didn't have to melt her idol on national TV, like you're saying. So the target was painted on her back because she was playing too aggressively, you know, in a scramble situation. And I like in a tribal situation, being that that's my only experience that I really had on Survivor, you want people to come to you and tell stuff. Like you don't want to go up to anybody. You don't want to rock the boat on a tribal council night. You just don't, because ultimately the less people even see you, the better. Like the less people even talk about you, the better.
That's it.
And I just feel like
just chill in the back a little bit.
Just chill. Yeah. Especially, you know, you got an idol in your pocket. Like just chill. Like go sit in the shelter and just listen. And like you can get most of your information by just letting people come up to you and ask you questions instead of being the one answering or asking the questions. Like it was a lot.
Well,
I was getting so nervous.
And, we had a great comment on our recap video. I think it was Doral Valley who said it, but the comment said basically they thought Jem didn't play the idol, not because they weren't like Jem wasn't concerned, but that if she plays it now, she lets her whole tribe know that she was the one who planted the beware advantage. And I feel we didn't talk about that, but I think what Sabiah's saying about playing too hard, not only did she kind of play hard when talking to Ben and Tim and like being kind of paranoid and aggressive and holding the machete, but just planning that advantage out there and messing with everybody. And she didn't confide in anyone about this plan. She didn't tell anyone that she even had this idol. So she would have been, if she played it, she's basically losing trust with everybody. So she's kind of losing. It's a lose-lose going into that tribal since she's getting votes. And then Sabiah, you'd mentioned with your idol, it was like up in a tree and you had to melt. So you pretty much, I think, told everybody about your idol except for Emily. Like you were bringing in your alliance right away, whereas Jem kept it completely to herself.
Right. So like I knew that telling Brandon, it was like, okay, he was probably gonna go home sooner rather than later. So it was kind of like telling somebody but not telling somebody. And then Sean and Caleb at the time were my alliance. So it just seemed like, okay, I need help getting up in this tree, maybe, you know, allegedly. So Caleb's a lot stronger than me. We went back and forth about telling Caleb, to be honest, because I went to that tree with Sean first, and I was just like, dang, we can't find it. It was about to get dark. And so the very next day, I was like, we have to tell Caleb. We were against it, but it went like that. Now with Jem, I'm glad she didn't tell anybody. Like, I'm 100% glad she didn't tell anybody. I don't feel like it happens enough in the new era, even though I feel like that's kind of a part of the experiment that they're trying to play, is that you have to make the idol, like people aware of the idol. I mean, we saw it even earlier in the new era where they had to do those silly, you know, statements. So, you know, to be able to unlock their idol and stuff like that. It's like with this new era, the secrecy of your idol is becoming more and more difficult to protect. And so with Jem, I was very impressed with her, you know, but is it because she is so good, or is it because she really hadn't made those connections that made it to where she had to tell somebody? I don't know. Like, that was my biggest question. Yes, she's close with Mariah, but her and Mariah are kind of on an island right now, thinking that they're running stuff when they're not really running stuff. It's, Maria. I'm sorry,
Yes,
them being
I
on the
know.
same
The
tribe,
fact
it
that they
trips
put
me
them on
out.
the same side is crazy.
It's been messing
Maria
with us
and
all
Charlie.
season.
Right. I had to like take a minute. I'm like, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but y'all know who I'm talking about. Sega, they had that pretty much the same Kelly Brando situation, which again was really, really parallel. I mean, we talked about it before we got on here, but there's been so many different parallelizations that I've seen from 45 to 46. It's really uncanny. Like, it's like watching our season over in a lot of regard, and so I have to kind of like mentally prepare myself to see what's going on, because it's just so Twilight Zone sometimes, guys. It's crazy.
I know you have one tribe getting decimated. You have somebody getting voted out pre-merge when they seemed like they were in a power position with an idol in their pocket. I mean, yeah, we didn't have quits this season, but getting the medevac with Randon, I mean, that's rough within itself. It's a non-normal vote out. So there are a lot of parallels for sure.
Banu and his emotions, having like a really emotional member that it doesn't really seem like he brings anything to the tribe, but it's like you love him because his personality and because he's so lovable, so likable, but ultimately having to get voted out. It's crazy. And that is such a whirlwind. My heart really goes out to Yanu. Like, congratulations to them. Like, I know how it feels to be 7 days, no Flint, barely any food. Like, it sucks. And it just makes you start questioning, like, why am I here? Like, when Q had his moment and he was just like, wow, like, why am I here? Like, we keep losing. Being somebody that's an athlete, like, I have a really athletic background. Obviously, I'm active duty Marine. So competition is everything. Like, it makes your blood pump through your body just to get up and know that you're going to be a better you every day. And Survivor is like the ultimate test of that. Like, it's like, okay, you think you're a competitor? Come on out here to the beach, let's really see. Let's really see. So I've been loving how much they've persevered, and I can't wait to see how far they go. I hope that they're more of like a Brains tribe, how they went down to 3 and then they really went crazy. That's what I'm starting to see for this Yanu tribe.
Well, the one bit of good news, Sabiyah, and we'll start to move off of this so we can all be smiling and happy. But in the off season, after your season, we did a Survivor Second Chances ballot where we nominated 10 people, 10 women from the new era, and you were voted in by our fans. So clearly what you went through last year is resonating with the fans. So we'll see if maybe we'll get a Jem and Sabiyah same tribe start in a few seasons, and we can see how that goes.
Wow. And I'm very, very excited at even the thought of the opportunity to play again. Like, honestly, I was a first time was it when you submit? First time applicant. And so that was just an amazing, kind of experience. I cried so much. I mean, as you can see in my promo video, it's just a bunch of crying, because honestly, it was shocking that I could even be considered. But now that it's like on the other side of everything, to know that people want to see me, I was only on there for 2.5 seconds. We laugh about it all the time, 3 episodes. But I feel like making, the impression that I did is really just how kind of like encourage people to want to see what I could have done. So that makes me a lot, happier, because I have the opportunity. A lot of people that even went further than me haven't necessarily gotten that same type of big response, I guess you could say. So I'm super grateful.
Yeah, and it's great. I think it worked out that 45 had 90-minute episodes. So, and it seems like this season too, it's like the players that are going pre-merge, it does feel like we've gotten to know them much better. We can see like more of their personality and more of their game, even if they aren't able to last that long. We get to we get painted a fuller picture. So I feel like everybody really knows Sabiyah. So we're like, hey, we want to see Sabiyah play again. So
you're not wrong. And then the main titles that came back, like there was a lot of things for 45 that it was just so iconic and so just like nostalgic about everything. So we'll see.
Yeah. No,
Phil, remind me, do you remember how Sabiyah did in our Brant Steele, our fantasy survivor new era, our second chance game?
She made it to final tribal, correct?
Final tribal. That I remember Sabiyah being in it for a while, but I forget who won. It was
Lauren O'Connell,
Lauren,
won.
Omer, and
Sabiyah. I think that was the
final
in our made up version of this, Sabiyah, you killed it too. So if you get your second chance, you're going to dominate based on what we had in our Brant Steele that we ran. So only good things can come. But turning to this season a little bit, what are you feeling about this season other than the parallels? We haven't talked about the Nami tribe, I don't think, for a second. 15 minutes in. What do you think?
Oh, Nami. I love Sadeja. I'm obsessed with their tribe. Honestly, it's weird that you're right, we haven't even gotten into them. I'm obsessed with Nami. They're becoming, I mean, I don't want to go back and forth too much, but they're like a Reba. Reba never lost. They have, a very physical presence on their tribe. Sadeja is hilarious. I love her to death. She cracks me up. All of the different things where she's like taking the idol and stuff like that. She's just very excited. Like, people don't understand. This is like a once in a lifetime moment. So if you want to get a shot of you grabbing the idol from Jeff on TV, like, you gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, forget what everybody else thinks. Like, this, she's having her own experience, and so I'm been super, super proud of her, especially her representing for like the bigger girls. She out here winning challenges, and she is a primary strength component in all of the challenges. So, just like being somebody that is like a female that brings more strength, it's not always easy to just keep going and keep going. Like, I was beat to death by the end of like that week that I was out there. So her being able to just have the positive attitude. I mean, winning definitely does help, of course, but it's not easy being in there with the boys, having to be the one that's expected to lift somebody, or having to be the one that's expected to, carry a puzzle piece or whatever it is. So I'm super proud of Sadeja, super, super happy about Tevin and Trevor's dynamic. I feel like that alliance could go really, really far if they just like stay together, which I'm starting to see that because Tevin is starting to realize how much of a threat Sadeja is. So actually, I know that initially, similar to like me and Caleb, people think that we're going to go far together. Oh, we have a lot of chemistry, but it makes more sense for one of them to go with a Trevor than it does to go together. And it's just kind of like unfortunate. You don't want to have too many big threats sitting in one spot and be the one that gets, the hammer dropped on you. But Trevor, he's amazing. He's Survivor MacGyver. He's putting things together. He's always so clutch in the last minute of the challenge. Oh man, like, he's more clutch. I feel like his numbers are like crazy, like Tom Brady numbers at this point. Like, he can't miss.
Every time he shoots, and before the chat yells at you, she is referring to Hunter.
Not Trevor, Hunter.
I like it. He looks like a Trevor.
He looks like a Trevor. Oh my God, I'm sorry, Hunter.
I had to jump in before the chat starts attacking, going, Sabiyah, who are you talking about? What's going on here?
Tevin mixed with Hunter equals Trevor.
Yeah, you're getting it. It all makes sense. It's all there. But
that should be their alliance name, their duo. It's the Trevor
exactly. Line. It's Trevor.
I love it.
No, that was definitely a fumble, and I'm pretty sure I wrote that down as I'm watching it. So I don't know what's going on with me. Sorry, guys. Very sleep deprived. Again, I'm at a weapons tactics deployment. We're 12 on, 12 off. Charge it to my head, not my heart. But yeah, Hunter is doing amazing. He's I honestly have him really. I mean, I know we're gonna do rankings after this, but he's sitting pretty high for me. If he can just get into the flow of things. But we talked about it's been kind of slow these last couple of episodes. Now we're at the merge, so we'll see. If Hunter can get some momentum and if he can really like pull in some key people, I feel like he's gonna go very, very deep.
Now, how do you think that this is the Mergatory episode? We saw them reading the pamphlet or the paper beforehand, the tree mail. So we know that this is going to happen. We know that they're going to have something. We're all assuming it's the Mergatory. How do you think that's going to impact Hunter's game? Do you think that's going to blow up his game? Or do you think the fact that he found that beware clue and that he does have good relationships will be enough to carry him through?
Yeah, and you're right, because he doesn't have a vote right now. So I think that possibly if they do the thing that they've been doing where there's like a challenge and whoever wins the challenge goes to tribal, whoever doesn't, that can really mess him up if he ends up going to tribal and he has no vote. He just met these folks. Let's keep it 100. Like, he could end up being in some really, really hot water really quick. And it would be unfortunate to see his game end like that, honestly. But I don't want to be calling or putting any bad juju out there. We know they already filmed, but it's like, it's kind of one of those things. It's kind of a toss up until you really get in there. So that's where I'm thinking that he's gonna still be able to make it if he's able to lock in. That's why I was saying he needs like 2 more people to be like, you know what? Nah, Trevor's not going anywhere.
Trevor's sticking around.
Trevor's back. She did it again.
Right. And another part
my God,
we don't know about is we know that he has not activated this idol or had the ability to activate or find the idol because his tribe never lost mini challenge. But the note did say, if your tribe never loses a challenge, you will have a chance to do so later.
Exactly.
So, and from what I've been, and I've told this to Phil a few times, from what I've been seeing with these idols, I think it's like there are just a lot of steps to get them, but they are doable. They are possible. The show wants you to get the idol eventually. So, hey, maybe it takes a day or 2, or maybe you need to bring in some people like Sabiyah, how you had to bring in almost everyone on your tribe to like get it out
I don't
of the
think
tree.
They wanted me to find my idol though. I feel like that was just like
it was way up there.
I mean, every other there was no more heightened frustration in my life than watching the other teams find their idols. Like, I feel like it was just like, what? Like, are you serious? Like, that's what y'all had to do?
You only had to do that? Yeah, that looks easy.
And I know, like that's doable. Not no shade, but man, like I couldn't even see my idol to begin with. Like, it took like 2 days just to see it in a tree. Then, us not having fire, it's just like, man, like y'all, and we were the only one that required fire to even get it. I'm like, Jeff, y'all are crazy. Like, y'all are really crazy for that.
And that's a big, like, needing fire. I know that the first one, when Tiffany found hers, she had to solve the puzzle. And then Jem had to go and do the machetes. We don't know what Hunter's going to be yet, but needing fire is so much different than just having a different obstacle, because you then need to have gotten your flint or have recently gotten your flint or something, or go to tribal council like you did, which none of us thought Jeff was going to let you do that.
I'm curious. Did they tell you? Did you ask the producer or something?
I told them.
Like, I'm just going to put in the fire at tribal, and they were like, all right, sure.
They were like, okay. Because at that point, like, I had already went to tribal one time with it in my pocket. And so I'm surveying the area. I know that I'm not going home. So I'm really just looking at potential places to stick this thing. And it just didn't happen. I even went up when I went up into the booth. And this is kind of like a production secret, but not all the fire is real fire. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that I didn't, as a kid, I'm thinking like all of this fire is actually real, because it even feels hot on that set, but it's really just like, lights and stuff like that. So I remember I tried to use a flame that wasn't necessarily a flame, and they had to like stop me and like but that's what I was doing when I was up there trying to fake vote, because I didn't have my vote. I'm over here trying to like, okay, well, maybe if I can just get it half melted, I could break it open. But yeah, that didn't work. So going back into it, they told me I couldn't melt it on the rocks. They told me everything that everybody suggested that I should do. I tried, and I was told. You needed
fire. Definitely some form of
fire.
You made that very clear in the note.
But they said melt. So I'm thinking we have all of these super hot rocks everywhere. And like, they're super hot to the touch. Like, if I just like went like this and just kept wearing at it, it would create friction, and I would be able to melt the wax off.
Yeah, or you could take the machete and just like
right, but like the key word was melt. So I'm like, okay, melt. Yes. Does it have to be a flame? And they were like, yes. Yeah. They said yes. So
I'm sure you got a bunch of suggestions that you were like, yeah, I thought of that. I wasn't allowed to do it. I thought of that one already. Thank you.
Our fans are smart. Don't get me wrong, but they be thinking that they could do it better at any case, any chance, any whatever. And it's just like, guys, like, trust me, like, Yanu is probably the only tribe that can comparatively have the same mindset that Lulu has, because it's constant losing. Like you have, like even with Tiff having her idol, you don't even really feel good about that because it's like, okay, what if I don't even get to use it because we're so, bad. So
Yeah.
it's a catch-22 at all times with Survivor.
Well, we're going to start talking about these catch-22s of the Mergatory. I want to throw this up as our way of telling people to like this video and subscribe to our channel. We have Sarah Woodward who says, just got here and so happy to see Sabiyah's lovely face. She's a legend. So if you're also happy to see Sabiyah's lovely face, like the video. That would be nice too.
That's incredible. Like a legend is so crazy. Like I really appreciate that, but like there's been so many women, especially that have actually done well. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like I did good for like the cards that I had. I feel like I went as far as possible, but you got Sari Fields, you got Sandra, you got Parv, you know what I'm saying? Like those are legends. Like, but thank you. Thank you.
The sentiment is what matters, right? There you go.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Pat yourself on the back, get out. Hey, the fact that in 3 episodes people were that positive and that receptive of everything you did just says a lot. And
says a lot for sure.
Yeah, I'm very happy that we were able to get you on the podcast eventually and sit down and talk. And I mean, I know our fans were very excited when we dropped it yesterday that you were going to be the one on. They were like, I got more messages about you. Sorry, Bruce. I got more about you than Bruce. Okay. So Bruce, sorry. But they were all in. I love Bruce.
That's awesome. No, y'all have great fans. I peep into y'all's comments all the time. Y'all have great fans.
I appreciate that. I'm sure they do too. Don't give them too big of heads though, Don't get too big of heads. We love them too, but let's not get them thinking that they're above us, We gotta but so I'll quickly give the update here with the scores between myself, Will, and our Survivor guest we've had each week. The Survivor guest is killing it. Bruce had a good one last week as he had Jem in spot 8. So the Survivor guest team right now has 50. I have 45 and Will has 43. So even with me putting Jem at spot number 3 last week, I'm still beating you, Will. What the hell?
I know. I had Jem, I think it what 5 or 6. I mean, I thought the idol she had. I mean, she had the idol pretty much. I had said if the tribe loses, she's gonna get it. They want the players to find it this season. It seems like so. I thought she would have the idol and be safe. So I was totally wrong as usual.
Hey, you were right. She got the idol.
Sometimes you think.
Yes,
but sometimes having the idol don't make you safe. I can tell you that.
Very true. We had Bruce on. We had Bruce on last week, who also ended his game with that same fate of having an idol.
It's such a weird feeling.
Maybe you don't even want idols.
You feel like I don't know, like James. James has always been one of my favorite characters, and him going home with, I think he had 2 idols in his pocket.
He had 2 of them,
yeah. Like, I was like, wow, that's so impossible. Like, could never be me, So you never know. Like, it could be you.
I thought this was fascinating. And I know that idols have become much more popular in the game, and there's a lot more of them that exist. But Rob's fact checker over on Twitter put this out. There have been 5 people who have gone home with idols in their pocket in the new era. And then though, if you go back to season 38, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've had 11 people go home with idols in their pockets since season 38. Prior to that, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It was just 12. So
for the entire show?
For the entire show. So 11 people have gone home with idols in their pockets since season 38, and it was only 12 between, obviously the Terry idol, he was never gonna be able to go home with it, but since between
and
then
the
and season
idol.
37, so really you consider James was the first one who even could go home with an idol.
Season 15 to 38, basically.
Yes, but that's a 23 season span that only has one more person going home with an idol than the last 8 seasons of the show. So it seems like people are not using the idols as much. You're definitely not alone here, Sabiyah. You're not.
I feel like it's the pace. Like before, you could really like scope out, your territory, who's on your team, and you could position yourself in a way that made sense to have an idol. To like have an idol help you, or set somebody else up, or split the votes, play the idol, knock somebody else out. Like there was so much more I feel like you could do before, just with the 39 days situation. Then with the 26, it's so quick. You know, by the time you do everything that it takes to get an idol, everything is already kind of in motion, and now you have this secret, you know. So it's like it does more harm than good in a lot of respects, because if you haven't told people from the beginning, then there's no time for you to build trust, and they try to get you out. And if you have tried to tell people from the beginning, it's the same thing. Like they're like, oh man, Sabiyah, you saw how she found that out? How did she even read that map? Let's get her out. You know, like it's kind of like I said, catch-22. Like you really damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's just a matter of like, okay, can I make this work for me? And the people that have been able to play their idols successfully, top tier. Like I mean, honestly, there's nothing else I can say about that, because the amount of mental strength it takes to even be able to go through that, keep it a secret, trust the right person, and play it at the right time in the 26-day model is really, it's a lot of brain power. Yeah.
And the other problem is too, like back in the day, if you were, let's talk about the James one. Everybody would say the James moment was the stupidest moment, because we were at Final 7 when that happened. He had 2 idols. He had an alliance. He's the strongest, biggest guy out there. All he has to do is probably win 1 or 2 immunities, and he's going to win the game. So for him to not play seemed crazy. But in the new era, you don't even know if, like, when you go to tribal council, who's going to be there. So you can't be thinking that far ahead about, well, if I keep my idol through this vote, I might not have the numbers, but next vote I will. Or you can be looking at that because you don't know how many people are even going to be voting at these tribal councils.
Exactly. Like, especially like I can only really speak for like with my game, but like the marshmallow experiment, you know, I tried to save it for later. And in the real world, that's like something that people look at as being a positive, you know, delayed gratification. Okay. But in Survivor, it does not matter. Like if people have already seen your hand, you have to play the hand that they've seen so that you can get more cards. And I didn't trust that initially. Like I was just like, damn, like it took me so long. It took me 4 days to find this idol, finally get it out. And now you telling me I have to play it today? Yeah. That's crazy. Like it was just so much. And, you know, of course, like we talked about this, but like in no world did I think that Emily was gonna go with Caleb. Like they was just gonna kind of like fragment the tribe. Like, yeah, Sean, he put on when he came back, like, oh yeah, we can go to the, you know, the swap with 3 or whatever. But Sean was not number 1. You know what I'm saying? So like I thought that Emily saw that and she could see that going with me and Sean and an idol would be stronger than going with her and Caleb and Sean not really trusting y'all. We don't have any numbers, you know. So for those that thought that I didn't really think that through, I was up in that booth for probably like 10 minutes, which is a long time. And you know, tribal council. They make it look really, really fast, but I'm just like, man, like that's why when I came down, I was like, you know what? I've already made my decision. You know, it's not like I could have even felt something. And like some people were like, oh, well, why didn't you play it when they asked if you wanted to play it? Well, I had already chosen not to vote. You know, so I don't have that moment where like my gut feeling, even if I feel like they're all about to vote for me, the idol said that I had to vote if I was gonna play it. So I did feel like that probably wasn't the best, but I had already made my decision. So
and something you had said earlier was like you don't want to play it incorrectly, and that's probably a safer thing to do pre-merge when there's not a jury yet. But I do wonder that people, you know, they have these idols and they might even have the thought, you know what, I just want to play it, get rid of it, be safe. But that might look like a mistake. That it might look like a misplay. We've even seen moves, you know, we had Jessie pull off that move on Carla to have her misplay her idol. And it's almost like if you don't play your idol correctly, the jury or the other players won't respect your game as much. And I just wonder if that's why people are like really trying to hold on to it until when they really think it's the right spot to play it. And maybe, I don't know, maybe that could be part of the reason too.
100%. Like I feel like before, like the idol rules were still being made. Now we know, you know what I'm saying? So like for people to respect, you're out here with super fans. Like, this isn't season 15, season 16, where people are still, you know, gravitating towards the show, even though they were huge. You know what I'm saying? Like, now we are the kids of those people that watch the show. Like, my parents watch Survivor. So it's a team of super fans. So people are definitely analyzing your game from the beginning. They're like, okay, how did they get here? What mistakes did they make? Well, if they don't like your game, like, even if you played your best game, they won't vote for you. Yeah. So it's intense, you know. Like, you really have to play to what they would think is a perfect game, not even necessarily what you would think. I mean, we saw it even with Katora, we saw it with Jake last season. You know, they have to respect the way that you played the whole time.
Now, would you have, you mentioned you're playing with super fans, would you have gotten the logos or no?
I probably would have done a little bit better than Hunter, I'm not gonna lie. But who pays attention to the logos?
Well, I felt like it says the name on the logos, though. It says the location on the logo.
You're not wrong. I probably would have took the same approach to be like, okay, the stories. It's like, okay, well, Heroes versus Villains is kind of like the Avengers. So it's like you have to go back through everybody's origin story and, you know, put it in order like that. That's probably how I would have done it. And then everything after that is pretty, I don't know. I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory after that point. But I feel like, I mean, not having any food. He's been on NAMI though, so it's not like he's had that hard of a existence. I feel like he could have done better than, what did he get, like 8 out of 20?
Yeah, he said 8.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where if you get one wrong, then it sets everything else off, even if you have then like a whole sequence just one away from the logo above it. I think with that one, which is tough, I feel like that is something you either know it or you don't.
Yeah, like
there was
Will
very,
and I could do it in our sleep.
Right.
But
There's very little wiggle room with that sort of puzzle or game or challenge, whatever you want to call it, because it's like you're not going to luck your way into getting 20 in a row. Even if you know 10 out of the 20, you're not going to somehow get the other 10 correct. So it's like you either have that information, that's a predetermined outcome for that challenge. I think the only thing that can maybe happen is someone is really confident, like if it was Phil or myself, we're like, I got this, and we like haven't been sleeping, we haven't been eating, we just do it quickly, lock it in, we're like, oh my gosh, and we just switch one or two. But I feel like that's a hard, it's like not everyone knows all 46 seasons in the order, because it's not, I know they only had 20, but you do essentially need to know the order of the entire show.
I think if they did this again, if they wanted Survivor knowledge, I think it would be fun to pair like the winner to their season or something like that. I know we had winners at War, but you could use, there's plenty of winners who didn't play. So if you're pairing winners to season, now that's something where you actually can use deductive reasoning to say, okay, I know that Tina won Australia, so I can get rid of Australia right off the bat. Now, okay, I don't know what Sabiyah won, but you don't necessarily need to know because you're going to have 1 or 2 left over, and then you can get a little lucky. Whereas, in order, you just had to know. And like my mom and dad were like, would you know? I was like, yes, come on. Like we do this all the time. But, if you're not constantly talking about Survivor, those early seasons happened 20 years ago now. So who cares?
Yeah. No, 100%. And somebody from our season that definitely could have had this in the bag, which is, it's almost kind of comical that it happened the season after ours, is Brandon.
Oh yeah.
Brandon literally, like, when we were staying up at Lulu starving, he would make us laugh by being able to name like every first boot, every second boot, every third boot in order. He could go all the way through every single season. So I know that if he got this on the journey, it would have been crazy. Like this would have been the challenge that somebody like Brandon could have definitely just bodied. He could do the same thing with American Idol. He could do the same thing with like so many, this is like, he said that he used to use it to fall asleep or to like calm him down or something, like with like anxiety or something. And he would just be like, Tina, season 1, like he would just go through all of them. Like, and I'm just like, wow, that's amazing. Or even Jay, we saw him kind of pull out that same type of mentality when he was solving that last, one of those challenges that he was doing where he had to pull out the thing, and he named each one of them based off of the season. So I don't know. I feel like maybe Hunter just wasn't the guy for this, but also he was the only person that went on the journey, I feel, that had a vote that they could give away, you know, with Yanu. I knew Q wasn't gonna do it. And then with Tim, like just in light of his situation back at camp, them going to tribal and everything like that, I knew he probably wasn't gonna want to do it either. But Hunter, they haven't even lost. So he was the only one that even really made sense to try, you know?
Yeah.
Has Tim come out and said on social media whether he would have been able to do that or not?
I don't think he has, but he said he was a pretty big fan when he was.
It seems like the show set it up like, hey, if he had known what the task was, he would have been able to do it, but he played it safe because he needed his vote, because he was literally going to tribal council that night. So,
and he was on the block, and we've already talked about Tim having like insane intuition with him picking up on Jem probably being the one that was causing, you know, the circus back at camp. So he probably could feel that he was in danger and couldn't afford to lose his vote. So I agree with him. Even he didn't even say like, I don't want to play. He was just like, well, how do you feel about it? Like he played it so perfectly. Yeah. So I'm a fan of Tim. He's one to watch for sure.
I think so too. Yeah.
Well, let's jump into these rankings then, and let's see who we actually are going to be watching here. I always like we go like a solid 40 minutes, and then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, let's do the power rankings. So if you made it this far, like the video, subscribe. Be happy that Sabiyah is here talking, giving you guys nothing but wisdom here. So make sure you're in on this. And
if you made it this far, Trevor is Hunter. I'm so sorry.
Yes. Yes. She knows if she says Trevor again, she knows what she means. Just go with it.
Yeah, I feel like he reminds me of like one of my friends from back home. I know a lot of Trevors, to be honest, but it's fine. Sorry about that, guys.
No, you're good. You're good. Hey, we figured it out. Once you're talking about, he's like a cheat code. It's not hard to figure out who that is on this season right now.
Oh, really he made a bed. He made a bed out of the. That was so cool. That was so cool. We needed somebody like him for sure.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of Trevors in Georgia, and that's where I'm from. So
there you go. Well, who do you have as your number one, Sabiyah? Who you think is the safest going into the Mergatory?
Oh man, the safest. You know, normally I would say like somebody crazy, like Tiffany. You know, because I feel like honestly, up until this point, her game has been really flawless. She's in the middle, even though she's on the losing tribe. She has an idol. You know, she has really, really strong, significant allies, and she's a challenge beast. And the other people have been able to see that, you know, she's not really the weak link. That's perfect, especially as a woman. Like, I really love Tiffany. But because she is on Yanu and they don't have numbers and they always do that Mergatory challenge, it kind of makes me not want to pick my girl. So I'm going to have to go with somebody on Nami, and we're going to go with Hunter. We're going to go with Hunter.
No Trevor references the rest of the night.
Yeah, no Trevor. Yeah, we're going to go with Hunter because I feel like, again, he's in the middle of Sadeja and Tevin, who are very, very prominent people on Nami. They haven't lost. I don't really feel like he's in any danger right now. Again, the challenge situation, okay, cool. But if he has numbers, which he's more than likely to have, you know, statistically, they have more people. I feel like he'll be all right, unless somebody wants to take a really big swing at him, which is possible. Oh my God, the new era. How do y'all even do this? Okay. Hunter, final answer. Hunter.
There you go. Well, that's fair. And I think what's interesting about this cast is we have seen people talk about wanting shields. We had what Venus said directly to Hunter last week, I think, that you are my
she's like,
shield.
I view you as a shield.
Yeah, you're my shield. So I don't think she wants Hunter to go home this week. And I think that somebody like Q is looking at Hunter as a potential shield for him. Tim might be looking at it the same way. And then some of the physically weaker players might be looking at it the same way. Tevin wants to work with Hunter. So I think Hunter's a solid choice up at the top, especially when you consider that he's probably going to get the idol, and they're not going to do the hourglass this season. So if they go and do this Mergatory challenge and it's one side versus the other, I'm picking the team with Hunter 99 times out of 100.
Me too. And just because they have the numbers, I mean, Nami, they're going in very, very strong. So even if they were to lose, the probability of him having more people on his side than others is very high.
Well, who do you got at one?
Number one, I'm keeping this consistent. I've had it now. This will be, 5 episodes in a row? Phil, I'm going with Tiff at number one.
Yep.
Every week.
Okay,
I'm keeping Tiffany at number one until she gets voted out. I'm pretty sure. I know.
I love her.
Yeah, I think Tiff is playing a phenomenal game.
Fantastic.
Yanu, while they have lost numbers, this always seems to happen, looking all the way back at like Philippines with Denise and Malcolm. It's like if you have very few numbers headed in, you often aren't looked at as like the merge boot or like the first person to go. I know last season it was Caleb, I believe. What was it, Caleb on the first one? And then he played Shot in the Dark.
Jay Maya. Yeah, it was Caleb, but Jay Maya.
But Caleb got all the votes. And his Shot in the Dark worked. So hey, maybe that logic is
a legend.
Yeah. Maybe my logic is completely out the window here, but I do feel like, hey, there's only 3 of the purple tribe, the Yanu tribe remaining. Maybe it will be the orange tribe going after the green tribe or green going after orange because they have the numbers. They're going to be fighting for the majority and the power. We also have this mention of this like 6-person secret alliance from the journey where we had Hunter, Tim, and Q all say, hey, let's each bring in someone from our tribe and then we'll have 6 and let's see how far we can ride that. And I don't think that is going to be the final 6 of the season, but I do think it's definitely worth looking at that and saying any player that's in that 6, I feel pretty good about. Tiff and Q are both in that 6. Hunter's in that 6. So I have Tiff number 1. She's got the idol. And I'm just going to go number 2 because we've all talked about them already. I got Hunter at number 2. Phil, I agree with you. We're going to split into 2 teams. The team that gets Hunter is going to have a severe advantage in this challenge. And I don't know if it's 99 times out of 100 level of advantage, like you said, because often it comes down to a very long puzzle. But he will be able to get them to the puzzle first, and that should help them out. So I've got Hunter at number 2.
And I think at this point, I could see Hunter jumping in and just saying, I'm doing the puzzle. I know he hasn't really been the puzzle person. He has been the end game person. He's been the one hitting the shots at the end, but it seems like he hasn't been the puzzle person. I could see him jumping in and saying, I've done this puzzle, or I know how this puzzle works, or something like that. Because I have the Idle Plays puzzles from Russell Muscle TV, and he sent me like the tree one. That thing is hard. When you're not looking at it, when you don't have anything to base it off of, like those are really hard. So I could see Hunter being like, I've seen this, I've done this, I want to do it. And me and Will are being lazy as anything, and especially after I just lost Jem last week, I can't help myself. I have to put Tiffany at number 1. She's got an idol, and I just feel like they're not going to gun for her. I actually think that Tiffany and Kenzie become very safe this week. Not maybe so much Q just because he could be a physical threat, but Tiffany and Kenzie could be very, very safe this week because they're on the right side of the numbers with everything. So I'm going to go with that. And Sabiyah, I don't know. I know you were frozen there for a second. I think you're back. Are you back? Okay. Not sure. We'll be back in a second with Sabiyah. Will, you already did your number 2. So I'll do my number 2 then while we get this going here. I'm actually going to go Charlie. We haven't talked about Charlie yet on this podcast. I don't see Charlie going home. I think Charlie's in a really good spot. I think he's going to be good with his side. He's not an overly physical player. He's not somebody that people are going to be looking at saying, we got to get rid of him. There's no way we can have him make it deeper into this game. So I'm putting Charlie at number 2. He's very well insulated. He's got his group of 3 with him. Well, there's 4 of them. Him, Tim, Ben, and Maria. They just went to tribal. They're very close. Maybe Mariah wants to go at somebody, but I think she'd probably go at Maria if she's going to try to throw anybody from that alliance under the bus. Maria, Tim, or Ben all seem like likelier options than Charlie. So I have Charlie at number 2. Sabiyah is fully back. She's here.
I don't know what. I'm sorry, guys. I went through like a time warp with that, but like,
whoa. You know who goes home? Be careful of spoilers.
Like, y'all started chopping up and everything, and I was just like, so I moved spaces, and hopefully this works for the rest of the time.
You seem good now, so.
Okay, cool.
So all we did was I had Tiffany at 1 and Charlie at 2. Will had Tiffany at 1 and Hunter at 2. You have Hunter at 1. Who do you got at 2?
Yeah, I have to go with Tiffany. Yeah, okay. Definitely. Like what I was saying before, she really hasn't made any mistakes. She's positioned herself perfectly in her tribe. She has an idol. She honestly, like right out the gate, unless her team throws her under the bus, I don't feel like she's going to be seen as a super huge threat to the others. That's the benefit of, kind of being like, I don't know, like more personable, more like, but still like not seen as like the strongest person on the beach. I mean, you do have Hunter, you do have Q, you do have Tim, that are kind of like the big guys, and they're aware of it. That's why they talked at the journey. So hopefully that can, provide some security for her even more. But it's got to be Tiffany. She's awesome. She's awesome.
Yeah, I think she can win at this point. I really do.
Oh,
I think she might be the front runner. She's been so good, so fun to watch. Also,
for sure.
I want to throw this up here, Sabiyah, so you can rest easy. St. Cliffo says Frozen Sabiyah looked inquisitive and full of brilliance. There are bad screenshots of Frozen guests. That wasn't one of them. So well done on getting Frozen when you did. That worked out perfectly.
Look, I have a really calm presence. People always hit on that. I guess it just comes from being in my profession, always having to kind of keep a level head, even if it's crazy. So thank you. I appreciate that.
I love it. Who wants to go with their number 3? Will you want to go?
Sure. You know what? I'm going to go 3 and 4 because it's kind of a duo. So I have Charlie at 3, not too far behind you, Phil. And then I have Maria. I almost said Mariah. I have Maria at 4. The Maria Charlie duo, I think, is in a really good spot here. Just because I think they're so well connected. They're well connected on their own tribe with, Ben and Tim, who they just voted with. And even I think Mariah, she was left out of the vote and she voted incorrectly and was, in that alliance, the Charlie's Angels with Jem, who just went home. But I think Maria and Charlie are good enough players and they have a good enough bond with Mariah to at least if they need her to bring her back into the fold and loop her back in. And then now also Tim is saying that Maria is his number 1. And if this, Journey Alliance does take off, at least for like this episode, the merge, or the first few episodes of the merge, that I think Maria could easily just say, hey, Charlie, you're coming with me. We got this 6. Let's, I'll keep you in the know. You can pretend not to be in it. Maybe they can play both sides a little bit where Maria's getting all the information and Charlie is, using that to his advantage. So I think that duo, we've just seen just such a strong game from them so far. I'd be surprised if neither seem to be that big of obvious threats, like on paper right away. You don't look at Charlie and go, oh man, I'm worried about him, or Maria, I'm worried about her. So that's why I got Charlie at 3 and Maria at number 4.
And just before we move on to the next here, Maria said on social media that she played her extra vote because everybody in the entire game knew she had it.
That's what I was saying.
Lower her threat level because everybody got to see her and she knew that the tribes were going to go back and talk about it. So she just wanted to get rid of it, let it known that it was gone. And assuming that Ben, was telling the truth, even if Ben wasn't telling the truth, it was a 4-2 or a 5-2 vote. So for Mariah, she got to see that was played.
And if it was a 2-2 and Tim and Ben had both lost their votes, I think we had a comment in the chat last week, like even on a revote, they're going to revote and make it Jen probably.
Yeah.
So,
right. And also she also exercises that trust with, the people that she's going forward with. Because at the end of the day, whether she has it or not, okay, will she play it for me? You know what I'm saying? Like, will she play it in my favor? And I feel like, now, if she finds an idol or something, or she has an advantage later on in the game, it makes people more inclined to trust her with that, with the ball in her hands, like metaphorically speaking, and trusting that she'll have their best interest at heart or be a team player, even if that's not always the case. Yeah. So great move on her part.
So you have Hunter at 1, you have Tiffany at 2. Who do you have at 3, Sabiyah?
It was interesting that he kind of pivoted, back towards green, even though we have purple and orange, at 1 and 2. I'm gonna go with another alliance member from my first one and just put Tevin up there because that's somebody who's also having like a very good game. We haven't really got to see a lot of Tevin, I feel like, but Tevin is very, very smart. He's very, very he's deducing like different information out of people. He was able to align himself with Hunter very, very early, which I felt like was a great pick, even though on paper, they don't look like they would be in an alliance, which is honestly the perfect type of person you want in your alliance. You want a Malcolm Denise type situation. It's just so off-putting. It's like, no, they ain't working together. You want something like that. So I felt like Hunter and Tevin, because they, cemented so early with their Andy Griffiths energy, they're gonna go far. And I feel like if Hunter, him being like, Southern, like nice, just like genuine person. He don't seem like the type to switch up. He seems like he's gonna be like a loyal to the end kind of person. So if he's loyal to the end, who was with him at the beginning? Tevin. So I got him at number 3. Yeah.
I like that. I like that pick. I don't really have the Namis too high just because we never got to see them go to tribal council. And I always feel like I just got burned with that with Jem last week because I thought she was in so good and then she just totally wasn't. So I am a little bit lower on, not much lower because obviously there's only 13 people, but I'm just going to name a couple more of the green/purple. And I said it earlier, I think Kenzie's in a good spot here. I do. So I'm putting her at 3. That might be high for Kenzie, but I feel like because of the way that this shook out, where she is on the tribe with the least amount of people left. They've had to play the most. Orange, we've already heard Venus saying she can't wait to turn on her tribe. We've heard now Mariah is going to be pissed off on green of whatever happened. And Q, Kenzie, and Tiffany know they're tight together. They don't have a choice but to be tight together at this point. So for me, I feel really, really good about Kenzie. I think that this is a great spot to be in now that they've hit the Mergatory. So I'll put her at 3, and then I will put Maria at 4 because even though I said I have her a little bit lower than Charlie, I think even if Mariah gets mad at Maria, I don't think the rest of the players are going to be saying, oh, yeah, let's trust Mariah. Maria's the one who's got to go. I think this is going to benefit Maria that she's the oldest woman out there right now because that's going to help. That automatically lowers her threat level right at the first Mergatory boot. Once people start seeing her play, they're going to say, shit, we should have gotten rid of her earlier.
100%. I feel like for my number 4, it would be Kenzie for sure. Her, just like Tiffany, even though she hasn't necessarily made any crazy moves, her social game is unparalleled to anything else. I feel like her having to be on the losing tribe and being likable and staying in the middle and just like, and when I say the middle, I don't necessarily the middle of Tiffany and Q because we know that Tiffany is in the middle of those two. But I just mean like as far as like being even kilter, not going high and far to the right, making sure she apologizes to Bonu, after having her little explosion or whatever, making sure she's always, in the conversation, even though they kind of highlighted that portion. It took me back to who was that? Nick, that he got highlighted for the same thing. Like, oh, what are you guys doing over here? What are you guys doing over here all the time?
Oh, yeah. That was in Winners at War, right? Yeah.
Right.
In Winners at War. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't feel like it's necessarily a bad thing that she's checking in, but it was kind of funny because that was the only time I could ever remember them doing that type of cut.
Yeah. Is it bad that the first Nick I think of is Nick Mariano every single time? You said Nick, and I was like, what is Nick Mariano?
Yeah, no, that's weird. I was thinking I went to Nick Mariano also.
That's my number one Nick.
Blazer Nick, jacket Nick.
Yeah. No, you're right, though. I do remember that edit, and that was close before he ultimately ended up being voted out of the game. But I don't think it's hard to know. Was this bad for Kenzie or not? What are they trying to set up with this? They had to give us something from Yanu this week, and it didn't seem like there was much new to tell us, especially with them winning.
It didn't. Outside of the win, I feel like right now the kind of the ball is in Tiffany's court as far as like what happens to Yanu, unless one of the the outside spectrums start feeling paranoid. So if Q starts feeling uncomfortable going into this merge, it could be rough for Tiffany because she's going to be the first person I feel like he would have to turn on to prove himself to anybody, Yeah. And the same thing with Kenzie. So being in the middle is good to a point, but if there's ever going to be a sacrifice of anybody to show loyalty, it's 9 times out of 10 going to be you.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I think Kenzie a little lower just because maybe something like that happens.
Yeah, like she's getting volunteered as tribute by her people. I'm thinking too that could happen. But Kenzie is so smart. I feel like she hits the beach and she automatically starts connecting with people. The same energy that she had in Yanu, she keeps it pushing and she starts talking to, let's say, a Charlie, let's say a Ben. The very like bubbly, but hey, we're in this together kind of people. That seems like it tracks with Kenzie. I could see her going with them.
Ben and Kenzie feels like an alliance that would somewhat make sense. I feel like Kenzie's probably gotten more of a negative edit this season, but that's because she's also been losing a lot. So it's hard to spin everything positive when you're constantly losing. So I could see them, though, pairing up. You know, they're going to be talking about their tattoos. They're going to be talking about all that stuff. That's going to be those little bonds that might help them get together. Q ultimately said Tiff was his #1 ally, but Ben doesn't know that. So, like, I think that, you know, if they're all going to be trying to work, who do we want to get from this tribe? What makes sense? I think Ben and Kenzie kind of make the most sense as a pair from green and purple.
I think so too. They're kindred spirits. And even though, like, we could say that Kenzie got a negative edit, okay, cool. But she ain't lied. She hasn't lied about nothing. You know, I feel like we're confusing honesty with negativity. I don't think, like, especially being on a tribe, like me calling us the Lulu losers, it's not negative. It's just a fact. You know, like, we haven't won. So it's like me being light of the situation. Ooh, I wanted to talk to you guys about something.
All right,
in the challenges, this is sidebar completely, but it has to do with Survivor. But in the challenges, do you guys feel like Jeff's comments is like fuel? Or do you think that it, like, low key, like, changes the mentality of the players?
I don't know. I feel like it depends on the individual who receives it. And I think Jeff, honestly, like, at that point, even last challenge, I feel like Jeff was motivating Yanu and was actually rooting for that. Like, when they were in last place, he's like, come on, Yanu. Like, he's like, you guys can do this. Not that he's playing favorites, but I think he always tries to motivate everyone, I think, equally to, like, really try their absolute best, give it their absolute all. You're only going to play this once, most likely. And so he gets a little sassy and gets a little real and a little mean sometimes. But I do think it all comes from, like, a very good place of wanting people to put their best foot forward and to really dig deep. You know, and then I think it's on the player. How do they handle that? Do you hear Jeff yelling at you and you go, all right, I'm going to try just like 1% harder because I heard Jeff, or am I going to hear Jeff tell me I'm in last place, I need to get it together, and then I get flustered and that you know, throws me off whatever I'm doing. I think it really depends on the individual player.
Yeah.
I would agree. Yeah.
I think that's
Phil.
No,
Will Phil, are y'all serious?
I know.
Are y'all serious?
Yeah,
I know.
that's
Isn't
right.
that good? It used to just be Phil and Will before we called ourselves a specialist. So,
my goodness.
I do agree with Will. I think it depends on who you are, because I think some people, if they'll look at that as criticism during a challenge, and that might bother them. And other people will look at it as, you know, if you've been coached your whole life, if you were an athlete, if you were playing sports, and you're used to a coach kind of saying to you, like, come on, we just got to get one stop. I mean, I was watching the Tennessee game before this, and Rick Barnes is screaming at his guys, but it's the excited, like, we need one stop, not like, and it is that more motivational aspect. Jeff knows at the end of the day, while he's doing these challenges, the motivation, like, Yanu winning is good for TV. He knows that that's the truth. He knows that a comeback victory is something that everybody wants to see. He's got that in his mind, I think, as he's announcing it. I don't think he would announce it differently if Nami was losing. But I do think that with Yanu, he wants to make sure he's getting those sound bites in that are sounding really good, because he loves an underdog story. You can say that's how much Jeff's opinions of different players and archetypes and stuff have changed over years, but he's always loved an underdog story.
That's true. That's true. I don't know. Like, I feel like this one was really, like, kind of like, it was hard to watch. Like, it was hard to hear in the beginning. Like, I'm glad that they kind of, like, called him out on it, because it was like, dang, like, okay, like, these are people that have not had Flint in 11 days. Now, granted, I only had a 7-day experience, but that was enough for me. Without food or nothing, you know, and it's been raining. Like, fortunately, we didn't get as much rain as they're getting. So if you know that this is somebody that's coming into the Coliseum, let's say, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, man, like, you know that you're likely to get the thumbs down. Then do I need you to tell me about it?
Yeah. I know the lion's going to eat me. Just let me be eaten.
Right. It's like, dang. Like, at that point, like, the motivation, like, it cannot come from anywhere besides inside you. I was so happy to see them pull it out, but I was not really necessarily loving the feedback that they were getting. fortunately they were able, and I've been an athlete my whole life too. You know, I ran track in college and everything like that. And I feel like there's something to say about playing in a crowd that has your name, that has your number. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like sometimes Jeff can feel like the crowd with the person that has the fat head of your face and they're talking about your mom. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, dang, like now I got to shoot these free throws. And they over here, you know, they got I played against some amazing student sections and they have the newspapers up while you're shooting or whatever. And so sometimes it can kind of give that. And I just wanted to see like how, like, what did the fans think of that? Because it's like, as an athlete, like, yeah, you could say like, okay, they should just push through it. But also in the same regard, as an athlete, I know that I've played against, I've been scouted by people, and it's like, man, like they know how to say that one thing that just kind of takes me out of it. And is that something that affects the challenge or not? You know? So not saying he should be a neutral party by any means, but like, does it affect their morale? Does it have positive? Can it have negative effects? You know, and is that necessarily kind of like, is that just the crowd per se? You know what I'm saying? Like the crowd, people that have home court advantage in championship games, they're more likely to win because the crowd is like the sixth man. So is Jeff being the sixth man when he makes those types of comments? Is it positive or negative? I don't know. I feel like it's more, you know, more to talk about later, I guess. But
yeah, it can go either way. And I think what at least I enjoyed from, like, you know, he was kind of berating them with the records of losses and days without playing and all that. But I think what it really
like, dang.
It really helped set up the stakes. And I think if that had not been there, I don't know if the win feels as sweet when they do finally get it. Like, it really paints a picture of how bad they've been, especially because this is a tribe that has lost more immunity challenges than members of their tribe that they've lost. Because Randon went home, there's still, you know, 3 of them left. It doesn't look as bad as it actually has been. So I think he is highlighting, look how many days it actually has been, how many challenges in a row you have lost, and that made their win feel that much sweeter, at least as an audience member. That I think he really set the stakes up for that.
And he could have, you know, if Randon doesn't go home, you got 2 people competing not to be the Oolong tribe from Palau.
Yeah.
Because they probably would have lost the next challenge after they voted out Banu, who I think would have gone there. But if they lose that next challenge anyway, they're down to 2 people. We're at final 14. Somebody's going home, and they're fighting to not be on the same, you know, caliber as the Oolong tribe of just losing every single immunity challenge. So
that's true. Or they end up doing some type of like tribe swap situation, you know.
Yeah, maybe they had some sort of contingency plan of they just keep losing. We got to do something. This sucks.
Yeah. I mean, that's what happened to us.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So I'm going to jump in with my 5 and 6 here. I am going to put Ben at 5. He survived last week. I think that really showed off how good he was in with the rest of that tribe. The fact that we really got the Charlie's Angels of it all, and then Jem went home anyway. I feel like Ben is sitting really pretty with Charlie and Maria right now. I feel like he's their 3rd. I feel like Tim is the 4th. I feel like Ben is in tighter, and Charlie was able to convince Maria, look, I'd rather keep Ben around. So I got Ben in a good spot. I think he's super unassuming at this point in the game, that he's not a mergatory boot of, oh my God, we got to get rid of Ben right now. So I like him where he is sitting right now. And then I will finally go to my first Nami. And I can't believe I'm putting the strongest guy on the season in here, but I'm going to put Hunter at number 6 and put him as the highest ranking Nami, just because I feel like he's going to get the idol or he's going to win this
6
challenge.
Seems low for Hunter. I'm surprised you haven't.
Very low. That's very low.
Yeah.
No shade.
I feel,
what are you doing, Phil?
Well, let me ask you this then.
I don't like that.
Sabiyah, let me ask you this. Hunter's in a great spot. Hunter's a great player. Like we're liking what we're seeing from Hunter. 6 is too low, according to everybody.
Yeah.
Do you think Hunter can win?
Yes, 100%. I feel like because, people have been seeing him show out in the challenges and stuff like that, but Hunter is very introverted. You know what I'm saying? So even though he has that athletic presence, he doesn't necessarily have an overwhelming bro effect at, you know, the beach that could kind of like offend people or rub people the wrong way. It's kind of like Austin. Like he was an obvious big threat, but Austin is very like a gentle, like nice person in general, like very, very sweet. So it's kind of like the perfect balance when you have somebody like that. Like he's not sticking out crazy and he's not making anybody uncomfortable, you know? Plus with him being aligned with Tevin and Sadeja, that's a perfect, I mean, they, no offense to, I mean, I love them, but like they would be more likely to go or rub somebody the wrong way sooner than Hunter, you know, like, so with them being so far out in the front, him kind of being the cool guy that nobody wants to lose in the back, I don't see him going anywhere anytime soon. That's why I put him as number one. Yeah.
That's fair. I always just get scared with the guy who's been dominating challenges. It's so scary when you get to the individual portion of the game.
True, but if he continues to dominate, I mean, it could either be a Bruce situation where it's like, okay, he's winning too much or not. I mean, that's kind of one of those things. It's like the Ozzy effect, you know, like either it's like, can we do it without this guy? Okay, well, maybe we have to do it without this guy so we don't lose our chance to do it without this guy, you know? So if he ends up on that type of slippery slope, then okay, but that's really the only trek that I see him not going far. He's gonna have to take a back seat, which I don't think that he has a problem with. He can't be really power hungry, which I don't really see that for Hunter at all. Even when he was talking to Venus, he was humoring her. You know, he didn't just shut her down and be like, I don't want to look with you. Don't you know you're on the bottom? Like, like, what are you like? Why are you following me? He just kind of, you know, looked at her, you know, played it off, tried to talk to her and let her take herself out of the situation. Like, it was so perfect because you never want to isolate the person on the bottom, you know? So I like him. I like him a lot. I would be willing to put a couple of eggs in his basket. For sure.
There you go. On Easter Sunday. There you go.
Right. Exactly. You see what I did there?
I see what you did there. I want to make sure everybody who's listening to this a couple days later is going, oh, okay, good.
That's so funny. But my number, where are we at? Number 6?
You got
number
5.
6?
You've done Hunter, Tiffany, Tevin, and Kenzie. So we're looking at your 5 and you can do your 6.
Okay. So number 5 and 6. We'll do those back to back. 5. Jesus. Probably Charlie. I'll start getting some green people in there. We'll do Charlie at 6, but we'll do Sadeja at 7. Just because I feel like
so 5 and 6 because you have it. So
or,
you
5 and 6. Charlie at 5 and Sadeja at 6 because Hunter, Tevin, Sadeja. I feel like out of those two, because of what Tevin said about Sadeja, maybe playing too hard, this and that, his radar's already a little up. That lets me know that him and Hunter are number ones for each other. So I would see her going before them, but still going long just because they know that she's loyal. Like, I don't see Sadeja flipping on them. Even though she's been social butterfly, I don't see her flipping on them. I just
Soda Gotta Goda, that doesn't scare you?
Soda Gotta Goda was hilarious, first of all.
I'm afraid of Soda Gotta Goda.
Yeah.
But it doesn't scare me just because the merge is happening. So it's like, okay, Soda Gotta Goda makes sense if you guys are by yourself, but Soda Gotta Goda is stupid because you're sacrificing a number after the merge. And you're already such a strong tribe. So I feel like he said that because it was funny in the moment. And Tev can give a read, but at the end of the day, like, it doesn't make sense to get rid of Sadeja. And she loves them. She would die for Tevin and Hunter. Like, that would be like that. I just don't see her going against them right now.
Yeah.
But they haven't had to rock the boat. They haven't been to tribal, so I guess we'll see. But that's just my opinion right now.
Will, who do you have at 5 and 6?
At 5, I have Tevin. And again, I'm kind of looking at this 6-person Journey Alliance is what I'm calling them. And so I've got, Tevin is in with Hunter, who seems like Q is just so serious about that alliance. And if you get to a mergatory in a situation where groups are splitting up and there are 3 tribes, I don't think players are going to be like, no, screw you, I'm going to do my own thing. It's like, if you present me a 6-person alliance and I'm on Survivor, I'm going to be like, sure, at least for this first vote where it's all crazy and hectic, sure. So I think Tevin is good there. He's good with Hunter. And then, like you said, he does have Soda as a number if he, wants to maybe move to a different alliance. He has a solid 3 with Nami, and then he can pair up with people on purple or green. So, like, I think Tevin here going would be very surprising. I think he's got enough people looking out for him that are going to say, hey, no, we need to keep Tevin in the game. And I think now that I'm looking at my rankings, this is kind of how I organize them. It's like, and we kind of talked about this before, like the sacrificial lamb, or like I nominate you as tribune or something. I feel like we get a lot of these alliances that are mixed alliances from the 3 tribes. And then it's kind of like put up or shut up. Like, who are you really, like, you have to tell me who you're willing to cut that was on your original tribe. This has to be fair. Mm-hmm. And so my people that I have towards the bottom are the ones where it's like, yeah, I'm good with this person going. Like, I'm okay if we lose them from our tribe. This next vote, we're going to lose someone from your tribe. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. Who I don't think is going to be sacrificed here is at number 6. I have Liz. I don't see any reason why you should target Liz right now. I don't think she's in that powerful of a spot in this game, but because I don't like, she's really not, I mean, I know she's in good a little bit with Tevin and Hunter, it seems. And hey, if that orange foursome wants to stick together, minus Venus, those 4 and do something, sure. But I just don't think Liz is going to land as the target. Like, if you're out there and you're trying to eliminate threats or people that are coming after you, people you're worried about having advantages or extra votes or idols. I mean, she keeps openly saying like, I don't want to look for the idol. Like, I'm too, like, that's the player I feel like you want to keep around. So I just don't see where the votes. Yeah, I don't see how the votes end up on Liz. I could be completely wrong. This could be a shocking merge boot. We also just I don't know if we've seen enough of Liz to warrant her going home at the merge. It would just be so shocking to me how little we have not gotten much depth from Liz. I think we know her baseline kind of personality, but I feel good about Liz heading into this episode. So yeah, I got her at number 6.
Did you all see the Lucille Bluth Arrested Development meme that was going around the internet of Liz, where it's like Lucille Bluth, who's obviously like the mom in that show, and it's just like
Lucille Bluth. I haven't seen what meme this is though.
It was just something along the lines of like looking for idols is for poor people or something like that. Like, it was just so funny. That's pretty good. Phenomenal meme. So I really appreciated that. And those actually are my next 2 people. I have them 2 spots below you on each, Will. I have them 7 and 8. But I just was putting Orange a little bit lower just because we haven't seen him go to tribal. So I get a little concerned that there could be something out of nowhere where people who I thought were going to protect each other aren't worried about it. But yeah, Liz is like, I mean, Sabiyah, if somebody starts talking about how much money they have and how good they are and everything, are you sitting there saying, I want to go to the final 3 with them, or I want to vote them out?
See, it's a mixed bag with this one, because it goes back to what Will was just talking about people being like the sacrifice. I feel like Liz is giving sacrifice energy.
That could be very true. That could be very true.
Yeah.
It just seems like from what we've recently heard from Hunter and Tevin is that they'd sooner be like, you guys have Venus or you guys have Soda's got to go to even before. Like, I don't think getting rid of Liz would eliminate any other, like, it wouldn't have any other benefit to them other than just saying I'm going to sacrifice like somebody. Whereas if you can sacrifice Soda, it's like, hey, someone who is a social butterfly, who can pull in other numbers, who is going to be a threat, or Venus, who is going to stir up a bunch of trouble, and I don't trust her. Like, there's other reasons I feel like to get rid of Venus and Soda over Liz. But hey, they could just say, hey guys, let's take out Liz. I would be surprised, but it's possible.
It just depends on where, like, how soon people are going to start really sussing people out, like, and really like breaking the loyalty for for a number. Like, I don't understand. I wouldn't play like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it's like, if you think you're my number versus if you actually are, those are 2 different things. You know, but with Soda and Tevin, Liz is not really in there with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's in there, but it's just because they haven't had anywhere else to put her. And I feel like she just kind of gels. And of course, like, Venus is on the bottom, but it's really just because she doesn't mesh with them or whatever. Like, again, they haven't gone to tribal. So, but I don't really feel like Liz meshes either. Like, I feel like it's kind of forced, and that's just, tea for me. But it just seems really forced, and it just seems like it's only because they haven't gone to tribal and because they have a Venus that they haven't really talked about how much, like, she's not really just gelling with them. When have you really seen the moments with Liz? it can kind of be argued that she's kind of like the J Maya energy, like of their season. Like, even though Jay was on Reba, she was talking with Julie, she was talking with Dee. If you ask Dee and Julie to the side who was the first to go, it was Jay. Like, they were throwing out Jay's name, you know, or they were throwing out Sifu's name and then Jay, you know. So I feel like she would be like okay, Venus and then Liz kind of conversation, if that makes sense. So
it does. Yeah. And we have St. Cliffo here who says Liz has the most 0 vote finalist energy ever. So I could see that.
That's part of why I have her high. Yeah.
That's kind of why I have her in the middle here, because while I do agree with you that she could be a sacrifice because nobody's going to stick their neck out for her, I do worry about that. I will be right back. Well, you guys want to just take this for a second?
Sure. Okay. Is that June barking? All right. So Sabiyah, who do you have then next in your rankings?
Okay,
I think
so
you
right
did
now
Soda last at 6.
Soda's at 6. 7 would probably be Q. We could put Q at 7. I don't really think that Q, no offense to Q, I feel like his game is really great, but he's proven himself to be kind of emotional, and he's proven himself to be kind of polarizing when it comes to how people might perceive him. Even though he has the alliance with Tiffany, he doesn't trust. It doesn't even seem like he really trusts Tiffany all the way. I mean, and it seems like he doesn't trust Kenzie at all. And now these are the 2 people that he's with. So him being on kind of an island, I feel like it's going to make him more inclined to make rash decisions early on. Is that flipping on his alliance? I don't know. Is that, you know, making bad friends? I don't know, but I just don't really get a good vibe with him going further than like that middle mark to me. Yeah.
What did I miss?
So yeah, Sabiyah has number 7. She has Q, and I'm at 7 also right now, and I also have Q in the same position where I don't see him like super likely to go this week, although it could happen. I don't know. I don't think he's too big of a threat. I feel like if you have an opportunity to take him out, people might say, hey, let's just get Q out. Like, if he ends up on the losing team of this challenge and is one of like the 6 people eligible to be voted out, and the numbers of the other, like, it could all line up where Q goes home. I could see that. But I do think if like the Yanu tribe is the one sacrificing someone on their own, I think it's, you know, Tip and Q are the duo. They're the pair. They would say, all right, guys, if we need to sacrifice somebody, we're going to sacrifice Kenzie. She would be the one. I have Kenzie as the lowest ranked player on the Purple tribe, the Yanu tribe, just because I do believe that Q and Tiff are a duo. I think they are going to vote together. Unless something drastically changes from what we've seen of Tiff, is that Tiff is leaning towards Q than she is with Kenzie. And I think
I don't know about that.
Tiff even had a confessional last week where she said, I'm so glad we won the challenge, because then I didn't have to choose between Q and Kenzie. And if we had gone to tribal council, I would have had to make a choice. Where here she's got both options open, and that's why we all have Tiffany so high. But I think you want to keep Q around. Plus, Q is in this Journey Alliance, so he's connected with Hunter. And
I think
I agree with you, Sabiyah.
Yeah, I think she goes with
Kenzie. Kenzie's so high.
The girl situation, that's a real thing out in Survivor. And then also, like, she was not trying to vote for Kenzie. Like, Q kept positioning it like, hey, we got to get her out. Banu, everybody was throwing Kenzie's name around in the beginning, and the only person that really wasn't going for it, she was listening and she was and high, you know what I'm saying? Like, the Survivor energy, it was just like, okay, like, I'm hearing you, but I'm gonna do my own thing. I think that if they go to tribal, she votes for Q.
See, I don't know, especially when you have Q going on this journey and coming back, and Q can come back and say, hey, Tiff, I've got this alliance with all the other threats. They're going to be shields. We'll each bring in a pair. We got 6 people. I just don't know how Tiff doesn't hear that. And then it's like music to Tiff's ears. Great. I have all these other threats in the game. I want to work with them. They're going to get taken out. And then I'm going to slide in at Final 3 and win this damn thing. I think that's a very winning path for Tiff, that her and Q do pair up and go on this alliance. What we got here, Phil? What are you putting this comment up?
This is hello.
Yeah,
he says,
exactly.
I disagree.
And they found the idol together.
Actions speak louder than words. She found the idol with Kenzie. That says way more than her words.
Right, but that was on day 2. Like that was so long ago. Like that. Like, there's been so. That was. Yeah, that was like the first. That was in the premiere. So I don't know if we can really base on. Honestly,
can I jump in real quick though?
No, the scene last. No. You cannot, Phil. Let me finish. The scene.
Sabiyah, this could be your life if you were me. You know.
Yeah. I do think the scene last week was showing that Tiff and Q are talking, and Kenzie keeps coming up and being paranoid, and they even talk about it. Like it seems like we're getting such more authentic Tiffany when she's with Q than when she's with Kenzie. At least to me, it feels like that's where the real center lies, and especially now that Q is bringing this alliance, and then something else to do with this Journey alliance.
He's not done yet.
Is that there was I forget where I saw this. It was a theory going around that Marie and Charlie ultimately decided to vote out Jem instead of Ben because Tim had come back with this alliance, and Maria's like, okay, now I got to keep Tim in, and that this might actually have repercussions because we did spend so much time on it, so that Maria might have been swayed because it was going to be Tim who was going home, or it was going to be Ben, but now if she votes out Ben, then she loses Tim's trust and then doesn't have access to this like big alliance that's forming, so that could have had influence there. We might have already seen it, so I'm just saying Q and Tiff, I think that's the duo.
There's not enough like attention to the fact that Q and her is like an obvious threat. You know what I'm saying? We have to give Tiffany a little bit of credit of wanting to keep more of a low profile. And I feel like Kenzie is her low profile choice, which in Survivor, I feel like is the best choice. Like people thought I would go with Caleb, but really I was trying to go with Sean. It doesn't make sense for me to go with Caleb. Like we're just basically saying like, hey, vote for us. You know, like we're on an island together. We're basically look like brother and sister. Like people can't take that, you know? So with Q and Tiffany, I feel like it's that type of same energy. Like they want the Caleb and Sabiyah, they want the Tiff and the Q, but the rest of the tribe is going to be so intimidated by that. Like, so you have to build a back door. For Caleb, his back door was Emily. For Tiff, I feel like her back door is Kenzie. And so when push comes to shove, she's going to go with Kenzie, or Q even would try to cut Tiff out of the picture and go with Kenzie. It's just a safer boat to be in, unfortunately.
Sabiyah, you were talking about at the beginning of this podcast, the parallels, the similarities, all of that. Q is a very athletic, very likable guy on the minority tribe coming into this, like has the most people out. Sometimes, and he's also now talked to both tribes.
Exactly.
That's pretty much what Caleb did last season.
Caleb.
He had gotten to do so much of this work. So maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid of, oh, well, this is what's happening. Maybe I'm just drinking that. Maybe I shouldn't be. But I can absolutely see Q just being the easy person where everybody says, you know what? He's too good at challenges. He's very social. Kenzie and Tiffany, are they going to be willing to put their neck out that much to save him? So I do have him lower than both of you.
I think he's insulated, at least for this vote. But that's just me.
We'll see. Who do you both have at 8? Because I'm still ahead of you both.
Okay. This is where it starts to get tricky because the people that are left, it's such a toss-up. It really just depends on who they attach themselves to. So for me, I'll put my 8 as being Mariah for now. But,
okay.
Well, no, Maria.
I was going to say, you haven't said Maria yet. So who do you mean?
Like, I honestly, it's the Phil and Will thing all over again. But yeah, Maria, not Mariah.
Maria. Yeah.
But
and I think
she has herself in a really, she has herself in a really, really good spot. And then my 9 would probably be Tim after her. Just in general, they're in good spots, but I just haven't really seen enough. I might be putting them a little bit too low. But it just seems like we haven't really gotten like, do they really trust each other? You know what I'm saying? Like, I know Maria just made that really big move with the 2 votes and stuff like that. Okay, cool. But ultimately, Jen was the safe option, I feel like, for everybody. Like, yeah, you could say the Charlie Angels thing, but to me, I feel like they were always kind of leaning more towards the boys than the girls. That was just my read on that. Because Ben and Tim, they're really, really good players. They actually give off the energy that they're playing the game. They're here to win. So to me, I just felt like that just made the most sense. Play the middle, but pick the boys.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna go with Maria for
Maria 8, Tim
Maria
9.
and Tim. Yeah.
I was getting similar too. Will and I were constantly going kind of back and forth about the men versus women on that green tribe. It was kind of hard to figure out which way is it going to go. I ultimately said they'd go with the guys. Will was saying they'd go with the women. Jem is home, so I guess I'll put that as a tally mark.
It was because Tim came back and said, Maria, look, I got us an alliance at the merge. So she had to change her plans.
She did.
That's what happened.
But I don't necessarily know if this
means
Tim is in great shape right now. I agree with you, Sabiyah, where we're kind of getting a will they, won't they, and we keep hearing that they could be together, but we're not getting it 100% confirmed. And even last week's vote doesn't 100% confirm it for me. So
no, it was kind of just like, okay, like we'll see. Fortunately for them, they're going into a merge, so it shakes up the game board all over again. But I really feel like if Siga kept on the plight that they were on, it was going to be kind of like bad juju was about to happen. You know, they lost their challenge. They go to tribal. They have all of these really confrontational moments on their beach. And even though Jem ultimately went home, it kind of, the way that she went home, having them dig for 3 days, then her having the idol, and then her going home, it's like, if that doesn't make you not trust the person next to you, I don't know what does.
Yeah.
Jem,
they just don't know all that though.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, Tim is going to, at least this is just my theory, he's gonna air her out as soon as they get back. Like she had the idol, like because she's not there to defend herself. So he's gonna be like, yeah, because he has smoke on him right now for the whole idol situation. And he's gonna have to tell somebody like, no, I believe that Jem had it, that I don't have it, check my stuff, whatever. Just to get that off of him. But yeah, I don't really
it's tricky because then it's like
is.
It's like if they're like, oh wait, Jem didn't play, she didn't play the idol, so it must have not been her. It's still got to be one of us because she didn't even.
And
play.
if Tim comes out too hot on that and he says, well, guys, I'm telling you, Jem had it, he could end up putting himself in a bad spot where people start going, why is he so adamant she had it? Maybe he has it. That could be tricky.
You're right. You're not wrong, but he was right. You know what I'm saying? Like it's something like about your intuition. Like you can feel the presence of an idol on somebody. Something's going to change. Their body language, the way their eye contact is, like it's just something about it. And she was giving all of this energy. She was giving like that, just like I know something you don't know, kind of situation. And I feel like he just can pick up on that. So maybe, I don't know, maybe they end up, flipping it like a reverse Uno card, but I feel like it gives him like at least some type of intuitive like gold star. Like, okay, yeah, we got her out and she probably had the idol. Yeah. And he's going to be like, yeah, like, no, like, to be honest, I confronted her, replay that whole situation, with I confronted her on the path. She was deflecting. She was very, very nervous. Like it just gave bad news. And that's why we started to switch, the vote. Yeah. So we'll see.
I have Tim in the same spot as you with all that being said. I do have him at 9.
I have him at 8 too, which I haven't said yet. So while we're on Tim, we
all have Tim around the same spot.
Tim's around here.
To me, though, I think it's like he does potentially have this real connection with Maria. Like Maria might look out for Tim. I know we haven't seen a ton of them, but that relationship kind of came out of nowhere last week. And I do think Charlie and Maria are still like the duo to watch out for from that Green tribe, Siga tribe. But I do think Maria is like would rather have Tim around than Ben around because Maria knows that Charlie is really close with Ben. And it's almost like what Hunter was saying, like, I want Tevin to be my number one, so I want Soda gone. I could see Maria being like, yeah, let's give up Ben because then I can have Charlie all to myself, and that's why I do have Tim higher than Ben.
That's a fair point. I didn't even really think about that. I feel like Nami, because of the wild card of Venus, I feel like Nami is more likely to kind of implode this week than Siga is. I don't feel like Mariah might be a little bit of a wild card, but Mariah, it's not so much about what happened last week now. It's about what her reaction is going to be. If she has a positive reaction, she can work with her people again. If she has a negative 100%. Reaction, she's going to try to betray them, but others might be like, okay, she got burned once. Should we even trust Mariah? Plus, if she's on the team here that's going to lose, now the whole Siga tribe is going to say, we're just going to vote for Mariah. We're willing to do it, especially if some of them are safe. Other people are going to jump on and say, sure. So that's why I do think that with Orange, there's a little bit more chaos that can go down without them having ever gone to tribal council. So Tim's my 9. And then I finally have Soda. I have her at 10. I know Sabiyah, you had Soda at 6. I finally have her at 10. And then I'm in agreement with both of you, where after that, I kind of have it as my sacrifices. And that's why I have the 3 people at the bottom that I ultimately have at the bottom.
Yeah, going back to the Mariah situation with Charlie, I don't believe that Charlie is closer to Ben than Mariah at all. Not Mariah, Maria at all. Because I really hate I did that. Anyway.
But it's never gonna stop.
Like it's just, oh my God. But anyway, so like Charlie, anytime he has a confessional, he always is repping Maria down. Like, no, like I need to be with Maria. I need to be with Maria. I almost feel like he's in this like Malcolm Denise psychosis at this point. He's just like, that's the track. That's where I'm going. I'm not deviating from the path. So even though even if it made more sense for him to be with Ben, he would be all in with Maria. So I understand like what you're saying about like Maria possibly having to pick between Ben and Charlie, but I really don't think that Charlie would make her feel uncomfortable. I feel like if anything, he would double down and just be like, hey, no, like you're my number 1. Like I'm not.
Yeah, I still do think that Maria has Charlie as the number 1, and same for Charlie, vice versa. It's just like Charlie's next best buddy is Ben, and that could pose a threat.
Allegedly.
That's true too. It could still be Tim or Mariah. We don't know. It's definitely Ben. I think it's Ben, but I don't know what Maria's relationship with Ben is like yet. That's where we're kind of in the dark. But Will, who do you have at?
Why I fear for him. But yes,
who do you have at 9 then, Will?
I'll do 9 and 10 because we are going to the sacrifices now. So I have Kenzie at 9. I still don't think the Purple Tribe is going to be targeted just because we've already lost so many numbers. So I do have Kenzie as the lowest here. We do know that Banu told the other tribes that, Kenzie is a mastermind. And then, whether people buy that or not, you hear it. Everyone's heard it now that Kenzie is the mastermind. And then you merge and you meet this really friendly, social, smart, charming woman. I feel like Kenzie's going to be threatening to everybody else. I really do, especially with these comments from Banu. And like we've already went through the discussion of where do we think Tiff's alliance really lies, or her allegiance lies. I do think it's more towards Q. So that's why I have Kenzie at 9. And then I have Ben at number 10. I think if someone's getting kind of sacrifice from the Green Tribe, I think it could be Ben or Mariah, but Ben is right up there for me in being that person because I think Ben is such a threat. He's also someone you merge with and go, oh my gosh, this guy is so charming. Like look at Caleb. Like Caleb was picked out as just like a real charming person and really social, and people are like, he's going to win the game if we let him stay in the game. And Ben has we don't know about Ben and Maria, and I think that's scary. I think that is the reason why it scares me so much, because Maria is the position of power on the Siga, the Green Tribe. And so if they're going to say, hey, we have to give somebody up. I mean, Charlie looked like Charlie was ready to do it last week. So now he'll be someone else is gone. So I think he has to be ready to do that. So yeah, I've got Ben at 10.
Sabiyah, who do you have at 10?
Gotcha. I would have to say, yeah, I don't know if I want it to be like, do you guys see any like type of arc for Venus or no? Am I crazy?
I think Venus could have one. I feel like Venus's whole arc was about getting her to the merge and she was going to cause chaos, but we have also seen that happen in past seasons where that only lasts for one episode.
That's very true, but you also have if she can attach herself to the right group, she could go far. You know, like Emily was very vilified, you know, in the beginning of our season, but when she got to a merge situation or a swap, she changed her skin. You know what I'm saying? She shapeshifted and was able to, you know, get into the good graces of the other people. So I feel like she ended up in a tribe where it didn't fit her. But I wouldn't say that there's nobody on the beach that could vibe with Venus. So Venus is gonna be my number 10, just like as a wild card. I'm gonna put her above some other people just because I feel like we haven't seen the last of her. Let's just go like that. Yeah.
I could see that for sure.
And she's really strong, you know, competing in individual challenges. I really haven't seen her struggling in any of the challenges either. You know, she's I'm not gonna say she's been like a super huge front runner, but I feel like if it's like challenges where she has to hold her body weight, challenges where she has to do you know, just like those types of situations, we haven't really got to see her fail in anything. As we have with Maria with just throwing the hoop, you know? So it depends on, you know, what they end up getting. If they have to hug the pole, you know, it's statistically proven that people that, you know, have less body weight and stuff to hold, they usually last longer. That could be her bad. You never know. Yeah. So we'll see, but I'm gonna put Venus up there.
Okay. And Sabiyah, you got a little bit of a weird noise coming through. I don't know if it's the headphones or what it is, but I don't know if you want to just go out, come back in or something. I don't know what. Will, you're hearing that too, right?
Yes, I thought it might have been me, so I unplugged and replugged in. So yeah, I think maybe if you exit and come back out.
All right.
Yep. All right. So we're going to keep on rolling here. Yeah.
I like this comment about Venus being a siren and the close up on her eyes, which typically sirens have evil eyes in movies. Do they have evil eyes in movies? What's a movie with sirens? Let me know. Hello.
Peter Pan.
Evil eyes?
I don't think so. They all just really would like Peter Pan. They all think he's hot. It's pretty much the extent.
But that's not like a siren.
They're mermaids.
Well, they're different, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I like that though. I like the theory. I'm not mad about the theory. So I want to have
Caribbean. Okay.
I want to have Venus higher than last. So I'm just gonna put her in higher here, Will. And we'll wait for Sabiyah to get back here while we keep going with this. If you haven't checked out our connections games, check those out. We've put up 3 of them now. So Will, myself, and Blake have been doing connections games. So check those out. We put out one today. Sabiyah's back. Sabiyah, how you sound?
Okay.
You sound great.
I don't know.
Sounds way better.
You sound great.
Okay, cool.
Now you just have to awkwardly stand for the next 10 minutes. Is that what's
happening? Oh no, I'm sitting. I'm just
okay.
Yeah, I'm chilling, but yeah, there's not really a lot of like outdoor spaces. I need to complain to someone. But yeah,
it was weird because it was crystal clear, and then all of a sudden it sounded like you listen to that part back. It sounded like it was like a somebody was just like doing something with like an air cushion behind you. It was weird.
Oh man!
But anyway, you're good now. You had Venus there. I'm gonna knock mine out. Sabiyah, we'll have you knock yours out last. I'm gonna do mine first. I have Q at 11. I have Venus at 12. And then even though I've been saying I don't think green is necessarily going to be the one everybody tries to target, I just think Mariah might be the easiest person for everybody to jump on board with. Mariah is somebody that the orange tribe would say, great, we're not having to get rid of one of our own. She's going to be somebody that I don't necessarily see fitting in perfectly well with the Anu 3. And the green tribe is probably going to be like, well, she's not going to come back to us anyway. We already had a blindsider once. So I'm actually going to put Mariah at the bottom spot. And I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that Venus just keeps this thing going and they give her time to cause some chaos.
Okay.
Will, what do you got? Wait. Hang on. We'll save you for last. We'll save best for last. You know?
Okay. Cool.
Are we wrapping this? We're ending it out, right?
Yeah.
So I've got Mariah at 11 because I do think she's in the weakest spot on the green tribe. And then I have Soda at 12 and Venus at 13. I actually like Venus's chance. Like, I think her winning chances are much higher than a lot of players, but this ranking is just for this next episode. We are trying to rank for just who we think the merge boot could be. And Venus just there's no one on her tribe that is going to be like, we need to keep Venus. And that is so scary come merge time when I think everybody's looking for any name that they can just get behind. And if no one's sticking out and saying, you know what, actually, I like Venus, or can we loop her in? She's just got none of that. So
that's true.
I just feel that she is and it might be the most obvious pick. And then Soda at the same time. I don't think that from what we've seen of Tevin and Hunter, that they feel actually threatened by Soda. Will falling for the Alpha Boys. I mean, I don't think it's going to work out in the long run. Again, I have Tiffany number 1. I've had Tiffany number 1 the entire time. But I do think in a merge, when there's not a lot of time, first of all, and that there's an alliance already established, I feel like it's going to be hard for the players not to at least rely on that a little bit. And then, like, who's going and saying, no, we cannot knock Soda, she's my number 1, or I really want to work with her. Even it seems already that Tevin and Hunter have said, we want to cut Soda over Liz or even Venus with the Soda gotta go to. And I could be falling completely for that, but I can only go off of what we've been being seen. So yeah, I've got Mariah at 11, Soda at 12, and Venus at 13. I think if Venus survives this episode, though, I could see her wiggling her way.
3.
I could see her winning this game, honestly. I really could see a Venus win. Would not be that crazy. I just think she's in a very, very difficult spot for this week because she just has nobody, and she hasn't been on a journey. She has not gotten to connect with anyone else. So those are the rankings. No, I'm probably wrong. I always
agree. I agree with what you're saying about Venus. Like, she's in a boat and it's halfway full with water. It wouldn't be a shock if she went home, it wouldn't. But I have Mariah going home. So that would put Ben at 11, and who am I missing?
You are missing Liz.
Liz. So Ben at 11, Liz at 12, Mariah at 13. And that's just how I feel. I don't feel like Mariah is going to be able to bounce back from the gem situation. I feel like she's going to kind of get consumed with it, try to make a big move, and end up, making some enemies out of that. Or she's going to feel like too frantic, like, oh my God, that just happened. That was my number 1. I'm on the bottom. And then again, try to make bad friends. So I'm just going based off of who I feel like is more likely to make a mistake. And I feel like Mariah, because of the sequence of events of the last episode, she's up. So if she performs, cool. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know.
Yeah. I know. I have her at the last spot too. I mean, it just feels like she could be the sacrifice everybody agrees on. We'll see what ultimately ends up happening. But Mariah, Venus, Ben, those are kind of the people we all have low. So we'll see where that goes.
And honestly, I love Ben. Ben, for me, long term, great. But them bringing him up last episode to be possibly on the chopping block made me nervous. Because he is so sociable and he is so charismatic and everything like that. So if he can pivot, have more under the radar energy, and be self-aware. Self-awareness is such a big thing in this game. Like, if you can look at yourself, like how other people look at you, you're going to go far. But if you don't have that mirror ability, you're really going to you like kind of burn out. And so I'm nervous about that with Ben, but if he has one of those come to Jesus moments for himself, then I see him doing very, very well.
Yeah, I agree. So Sabiyah, before we let you go, who's your winner pick for this season?
Oh my goodness. Tiffany.
There you go.
It's either going to be Tiffany or Kenzie. Really, like I see the arc for Kenzie really, really like forming, you know what I'm saying? How them painting her at the villain in the beginning and bringing her to the top. Tiffany is she's so dominant. There's not really anybody on paper right now that I see beating her. Like, she's at least top 3, if not number 1, and why not her be number 1? So I'll have 2 right now that I'm bounced back and forth between, even though they're on the same tribe. I love their odds going into the merge right now. So those are my 2, but if I had to pick, it would be Tiff.
Gotcha.
I'm with you. She's I'm right with Tiff.
Was she my preseason winner pick? Well, I can't remember.
Yeah, you stole her from me though. So I had to pick
I'm
else.
sure I did.
Yeah. I had to pick. I went with Tim.
Yeah, she's a great option.
Your first winner pick was Hunter, I think, Phil, and then I took Hunter on the fantasy team so that you couldn't have him, and then you took Tiff on your fantasy team because you knew I was going to take her first.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And then that became
I have
winner
Hunter
pick.
as like a number 3, number 4. I feel like he gets to the end, but I don't know if he wins. Yeah, because it just depends on how much he can highlight his strategy. Because right now he has a lot of people sitting in his driver's seat. He's kind of like a passenger.
And I feel like Tiffany has an easier route to get there than Hunter does, because she does have an idol already. And I feel like people aren't going to be looking at the Yanu 3 maybe right away.
The Yanu 3 do not have that threat level that orange or green are coming in with.
Yeah. I could see Hunter having like kind of like the Austin problem, like, okay, like you were in the big tribe, you know, the whole time y'all dominated, you really didn't have to play until the end, and now you're here. What did you really do? You know what I'm saying? Like, I really feel like Hunter, he has to start assessing and really prepping that speech. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know it's a little early, but he has to be seen as a social threat. I really don't see him as that. He's just kind of like, you know, riding. But there's still a lot of game to be played. But that, to me, that's why I wouldn't put him as my number one right now, because at the end of the day, the jury has to vote for you. And again, everybody's a super fan. So you can't just be like how it was before, where you're winning a lot of challenges. People got to like you.
Yeah. No, and we've seen juries not vote for people that they like just because they only like them. And we've seen juries vote for people that they don't necessarily like just because they think they played the best game in the new era. So the new era is a bit all over the place with this. So it could go either way. So I totally agree with you.
You got to be well-rounded.
You do. You really do. So there you have it. Well, Sabiyah, it was so great having you on. I'm so glad we were able to make this work out, and we'll definitely have to have you come on in the future.
Definitely. And I love talking to you guys. Sorry about my technical difficulties.
No,
but
it's
honestly,
good.
I would say it wouldn't happen again, but it's honestly always like this in my life. So if you're willing to roll with me, then I'm willing to give it to you. You know, I really, really appreciate you guys highlighting and creating a space for our fans. This is amazing. Definitely want to be back for sure.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sabiyah. Everybody else, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, become a patron, patreon.com/thespecialist. We'll be back a little bit later than normal Wednesday night because I'm going to be going to a watch party. So we will be back probably closer to 11 o'clock Eastern time, 8 p.m. Pacific. A little late for everybody, but not as late as we did with the premiere, thankfully, because it's not like a 3-hour thing. So thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Bye-bye.